Captain Jai-Ho Park stood at the main window of Earth Defense Station 1, his eyes fixed on the strange ships that filled the view. They were beautiful in a way, smooth and silver, like liquid metal frozen in space. The alien fleet had appeared just beyond Mars' orbit less than 6 hours ago, and now the whole world waited to see what would happen next. "Sir, they're broadcasting again," said Lieutenant Hae-Yun Kim from her communication station. Her fingers moved quickly across the holographic display. Jai-Ho straightened his uniform. "Put them through." The main screen lit up with the image of what looked like a tall, blue-skinned humanoid. Ambassador Krell of the Galactic Confederation smiled with too many teeth. "Captain Park, I trust you have discussed our offer with your leaders." "We have," Jai-Ho replied carefully. Earth's governments had spent the last 5 hours in emergency meetings. They are interested in joining your confederation, but they have questions. Krell's expression changed to something that might have been amusement. "Of course they do. Your species is cautious. But surely you see how much you could gain. Your weapons systems alone are terribly outdated." Jai-Ho felt his jaw tighten. He looked at the status display showing Earth's defenses, the rail gun platforms, the missile systems, the nuclear deterrents that had kept peace between nations for over a century. Simple weapons compared to what the aliens used, but they worked. "Our weapons have served us well," he said. Krell waved a hand dismissively. "Kinetic weapons, nuclear devices, every advanced species abandons such things once they discover energy weapons. Our plasma cannons are far more efficient. Our shields can stop anything moving at sublight speeds." From her station, Hae-Yun spoke up. "With respect, Ambassador, we've done extensive testing with energy-based weapons. They have limitations that you simply don't understand yet." Krell interrupted. "Your scientists will learn. We will teach you." Jai-Ho watched as more alien ships appeared through their jump points. They were letting Earth see their power, their numbers. A show of force wrapped in a polite invitation. The station's sensors chief, Du-Yun Lee, walked up to Jai-Ho with a tablet. "Sir, scans show their ships don't have any kinetic shielding at all. They're not designed to handle physical impacts above a certain speed." Jai-Ho took the tablet but kept his expression neutral. That was interesting information, though he hoped they'd never need to use it. "Your Earth has potential," Krell continued. "We've watched your development. You're on the brink of becoming a true spacefaring civilization. Join us, and we'll help you take that final step. We'll upgrade your defenses, share our technology, make you part of something greater." The offer was generous. Too generous, part of Jai-Ho thought. But humanity had dreamed of this moment for centuries. First contact. Proof they weren't alone. A chance to join a larger community of worlds. "There will need to be agreements," Jai-Ho said. "Treaties, guarantees of Earth's sovereignty." Of course," Krell smiled again. "We respect the independence of all member worlds. We simply wish to help lift you to our level of advancement." As the conversation continued, Hae-Yun quietly saved all the scan data they were getting from the alien ships. She had a feeling they might want to study it carefully later. Something about this felt too easy, too perfect. "We accept your invitation to begin membership discussions," Jai-Ho finally said, following the script Earth's leaders had agreed on. "But we will maintain our current defense systems during the transition period." "As you wish," Krell said with what seemed like amusement. "Though you'll soon see how unnecessary those ancient weapons are. Welcome to the beginning of your future, Captain Park. The Galactic Confederation welcomes Earth with open arms." As the transmission ended, Jai-Ho looked back out at the alien fleet. They were about to step into a larger universe. He just hoped they weren't also stepping into a trap. Hae-Yun Kim walked through the wide halls of the Confederation's Technology Exchange Center, carrying a thick folder of test results. 3 weeks had passed since first contact, and Earth was changing faster than anyone had expected. The aliens had already started replacing Earth's defense systems with their own technology. She stopped at the main conference room and took a deep breath. Inside, blue-skinned Confederation officials sat around a large table with Earth's military leaders. Ambassador Krell stood at the front, showing pictures of the new defense platforms they were building in orbit. "Excuse me," He-Yun said, stepping forward. "I need to share something important." Krell turned, his silver eyes narrowing slightly. "Weapons Specialist Kim. We are in the middle of discussing the new plasma cannon installations. That's what I need to talk about." He-Yun opened her folder and placed her reports on the table. "We found some problems with removing all our old weapons." The room went quiet. Admiral Tai-Wan Choi, Earth's senior military commander, picked up one of the reports. "Explain," he said. He-Yun touched a control panel, and a large screen lit up with test results. "We've been studying weapons technology for over 100 years. Every time we tested energy weapons, we found the same issue. They can be blocked too easily by inferior technology," one of the Confederation officials said. "Our weapons are far more advanced." "But they all work the same way," He-Yun insisted. "Energy is energy. If someone figures out how to disperse or reflect it, energy weapons become useless. That's why we kept our rail guns and projectile weapons. They can't be stopped by energy shields." Krell laughed softly. "You worry too much. The Confederation has used energy weapons for thousands of years. No one has found a way to defeat our technology." "No one yet," He-Yun said quietly. "But what if someone does? We should keep some of our old weapons, just in case." Admiral Choi nodded slowly, but the Confederation officials were already shaking their heads. "Impossible," Krell said. "The treaty is clear. All member worlds must standardize their defense systems. It's for everyone's safety. We can't have primitive weapons putting our ships at risk." "But," He-Yun started to argue. "Enough." Krell's voice was firm. "Your concerns come from a place of fear and limited understanding. Once the upgrade is complete, you'll see how unnecessary these old weapons were." He-Yun looked at the Earth officials, hoping someone would support her, but they all stayed quiet. The Confederation's gifts had been too generous, their technology too impressive. No one wanted to risk losing their help. Later that day, she sat in her office, studying more test results. Captain Jai-Ho Park knocked on her door. "I heard about the meeting," he said, sitting down across from her. "You did the right thing, trying to warn them." "They wouldn't listen." He-Yun showed him her screen. "Look at these readings. Their ships have almost no protection against physical impacts. One good hit from a railgun could tear them apart. Why would an advanced civilization leave such an obvious weakness in their defenses?" Jai-Ho frowned. "Unless they've never needed to defend against physical weapons, maybe everyone they've met has already switched to energy weapons." "Exactly." He-Yun pulled up more data. "We're giving up weapons that we know work for weapons that could all be defeated the same way. It doesn't make sense." "Keep studying," Jai-Ho said after a moment. "Keep your reports. Maybe we're wrong, but if we're not." He didn't finish the sentence. He-Yun nodded and turned back to her work. Outside her window, she could see crews dismantling one of Earth's old defense platforms. She hoped they weren't making a terrible mistake. 3 days later, the first reports came in of strange ships at the edge of Confederation space. Commander Du-Yun Lee stared at his sensor readings for the 5th time. Something was very wrong with the data coming in from the edge of Confederation space. The unknown ships had appeared 3 days ago, and they moved in ways he had never seen before. "Captain Park needs to see this," he said to himself, downloading the data to his tablet. He walked quickly through the newly renovated command center of Earth Defense Station 1. Most of the old screens and controls were gone now, replaced by Confederation technology that glowed with soft blue light. He found Captain Jai-Ho Park in his office, talking with He-Yun Kim about the latest weapons upgrades. They both looked up when he entered. "Sir, we have a problem." Du-Yun placed his tablet on the desk. "The unknown ships at the border. They're using some kind of shield we've never seen before. Look at these readings." Jai-Ho picked up the tablet. and his eyes widened. This can't be right. The energy signature is all wrong. That's just it, sir. Du Yun pointed to specific numbers on the screen. They don't give off any energy signature at all. Our sensors can see them, but they absorb all energy that hits them. No reflection, no dispersion, nothing. Yun moved to look at the readings. It's like a perfect black body, she said. A perfect energy absorber. Exactly. Du Yun brought up more data. And they're not just sitting at the border anymore. They're moving into Confederation space. 3 systems have gone dark in the last 6 hours. Jai-Ho pressed a button on his desk. Get me Ambassador Krell. Now. When Krell's face appeared on the screen, he looked worried for the first time since they'd met him. Captain Park, we are handling the situation, Krell said before Jai-Ho could speak. These intruders will be dealt with. Ambassador, our sensors show these ships are using advanced energy absorption technology, Jai-Ho said. Have you tried to communicate with them? Krell's face tightened. They call themselves the Void Collective. They do not respond to diplomacy. What about your weapons? Yun asked. Have you engaged them yet? There was a long pause. Too long. Our initial attempts to repel them have been unsuccessful. Du Yun brought up a new set of readings. Sir, look at this. The Void Collective ships, they're accelerating. At this speed, they'll reach the nearest Confederation colony world in less than 2 days. We're sending our strongest fleet to intercept them, Krell said, but his voice lacked its usual confidence. Our best weapons, our most powerful ships. Yun looked at the sensor data again. Ambassador, if these ships can absorb energy perfectly, then energy weapons won't. We have the situation under control, Krell interrupted sharply. This is a Confederation matter. Earth is still in its probationary period. Focus on completing your defense upgrades. The screen went dark. Jai-Ho, Yun, and Du Yun looked at each other in silence. They're scared, Du Yun finally said. I've never seen them scared before. Sir, Yun said quietly, remember what I said about energy weapons all having the same weakness. I think we're about to see what happens when someone finds a way to exploit that weakness. Jai-Ho stood up and walked to his window. The last of Earth's old defense platforms was being dismantled, its rail guns and missile systems being replaced with plasma cannons and energy projectors. Du Yun, keep monitoring those ships. I want to know everything about how they move, how they fight. Yun, get me the location of every old weapons cache we haven't destroyed yet. He turned back to them, his face grim. I have a feeling we're going to need them soon. The Confederation's largest battle fleet arrived at Colony World 7 just hours before the Void Collective. Military analyst Sang-Min Cho watched the sensor feeds from Earth Defense Station 1 with growing concern. The Confederation had sent 300 ships, their most powerful weapons charged and ready. Energy levels from the Confederation fleet are at maximum, Du Yun reported from his station. They're forming a defensive line around the colony. The room fell silent as the first Void Collective ships appeared. They were dark shapes against the stars, looking more like holes in space than actual ships. Only 20 of them against 300 Confederation vessels. They're not even trying to negotiate, Yun said quietly. Look at their approach pattern. They're going straight in. The Confederation fleet opened fire first. Streams of plasma and energy beams lit up space like new stars being born. The weapons fire was so bright that the sensor displays had to adjust their contrast. But when the light faded, the Void Collective ships were untouched. Impossible, Ambassador Krell whispered from his position near the main screen. Those were our strongest weapons. Sang-Min pulled up the combat data on his screen. No, not impossible. Their shields, they're not just blocking the energy weapons. They're absorbing them, making them stronger. The Void Collective ships moved forward. They fired their own weapons, dark beams that seemed to drink in light itself. Where they hit, Confederation ships simply disappeared, their energy completely drained. Colony World 7 is reporting planet-wide power failures, Du Yun announced. The Void Collective weapons are draining everything they touch. Captain Jaiho Park watched as the Confederation fleet tried to regroup. They fired again and again, different weapons, different patterns. Nothing worked. Their energy weapons made the enemy stronger with each shot. "This is what I was afraid of," Heian said, looking at Krell. "When everyone uses the same type of weapon, all it takes is one perfect defense to make those weapons useless." The battle didn't last long. In 20 minutes, half the Confederation fleet was gone. The rest were retreating, their weapons useless against the perfect energy-absorbing shields. "We have to evacuate the colony," Krell said, his voice shaking. "Send all available ships. We have to save as many as we can." Sangmin studied the sensor readings one more time. The Void Collective ships are letting them retreat. They're not even chasing the rescue ships. They're just taking the colony. "Because they know we can't stop them," Jaiho said. He turned to Heian. "You said something earlier about our old weapons research, about physical impacts." She nodded, pulling up old test files. "Yes. No matter how good their energy absorption is, it won't help against simple physical force. A rail gun round moving at high speed would punch right through." "If only we still had our rail guns," Du Yun said bitterly, looking at the new plasma cannons that had replaced Earth's old defenses. Jaiho straightened up. "Maybe we do." "Heian, those weapon caches you found, how many are still intact?" "6, she replied, "hidden in old bunkers. The Confederation doesn't know about them." "And the mothballed defense platforms we removed, where are they?" "In storage facilities around Earth. They were supposed to be recycled next week." Jaiho looked at the main screen, where Colony World 7 was going dark as the Void Collective began their invasion. Then he turned to Ambassador Krell. "I think it's time we showed you why humans never completely trusted energy weapons," he said. "Do I have your permission to reactivate our old defense systems?" Krell looked at the battle data one more time, then slowly nodded. "Do whatever you must. Just help us stop them." Security Chief Mayray Kang stood in the cold morning air, watching as trucks carried old weapon parts out of Storage Facility 3. The massive rail guns, once considered outdated, were being carefully loaded for transport back to their defense platforms. Earth was working fast. They had already lost 2 more Confederation colonies while preparing their response. "Status report," Captain Jaiho Park said, walking up beside her. His breath made clouds in the cold air. "The first 3 platforms will be ready by tomorrow," Mayray replied. "The engineering teams are working in shifts. They remember how to install these weapons. It's only been a month since we took them down." Jaiho nodded, watching another truck leave the facility. "And the ammunition. We found all our old stockpiles. Tungsten rounds, depleted uranium penetrators, even some of the experimental composite shots. Enough to fight a small war." She paused, looking at her tablet. "The Confederation engineers still think we're crazy. They'll understand soon enough." Jaiho looked up at the sky. Somewhere up there, the Void Collective was still advancing, taking system after system. Their energy-absorbing shields made them unstoppable against Confederation weapons. Inside the facility, Heian Kim was working with a team of engineers. They had pulled apart one of the rail gun control systems, updating it with some Confederation technology. The old targeting computers were being enhanced with alien sensor systems. "The power draw will be massive," Heian explained to Ambassador Krell, who watched with obvious doubt. "But your power systems can handle it. These weapons will work better than ever." "Such primitive technology," Krell muttered. "Throwing metal at high speeds. How can this possibly work against their advanced shields?" "That's exactly why it will work," Heian said. "Their shields are perfect at absorbing energy, but they're not designed to stop physical objects. They've never needed to be, because everyone they fought gave up kinetic weapons long ago. In orbit, Du Yunli supervised the reinstallation of the first defense platform. The old rail gun looked strange next to the sleek Confederation equipment, but he felt better seeing it there. Humanity's old guardians, coming back when they were needed most. Testing power systems, he reported over the radio. Railgun capacitors charging. All readings normal. They ran the first test shot an hour later. The railgun fired a practice round at an asteroid, accelerating a tungsten rod to a fraction of light speed. The asteroid shattered into pieces. Just like the old days, one of the technicians said, smiling. Back on Earth, Sang-Min Cho was coordinating with military bases around the world. Old weapon systems were being pulled out of storage everywhere. Naval railguns, ground-based coil guns, even ancient missile systems that could be upgraded with new guidance systems. The Void Collective will never expect this, he told Myray as they reviewed the deployment plans. They think they're invincible because their shields can absorb any energy weapon. They've never faced an enemy who still knows how to fight with kinetic weapons. Let's hope it works, Myray said. The latest reports show they've taken another colony. They're getting closer to Earth. In his office, Ji-Ho received the latest intelligence from the front. The Void Collective had destroyed 5 more Confederation fleets. Their energy-absorbing technology was perfect. No energy weapon could harm them. How long until all our platforms are ready? He asked Pei-Yun over the communication system. 3 more days, she replied. Maybe 2 if we push the crews harder. Make it 2, Ji-Ho said, looking at the battle reports. I don't think we have 3 days left. As if to prove his point, the emergency alarms began to sound. The Void Collective had just appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system. Admiral Taiwan Choi stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Command ship, watching as the Void Collective fleet approached Mars orbit. Their dark ships moved with complete confidence, having never known defeat. Behind him, crew members worked at their stations, preparing Earth's restored weapons for battle. All railgun platforms report ready, Du Yunli announced from his tactical station. Power systems at maximum charge. Targeting computers locked. The Admiral nodded slowly. And the Confederation ships. In position behind Jupiter, Hae-Yun Kim reported. Ready to provide support, though their weapons will be useless against the enemy shields. The Void Collective ships moved closer, their energy-absorbing shields seeming to dim the stars around them. They had arranged themselves in their standard attack formation, clearly expecting another easy victory against energy weapons. Admiral Choi pressed the communication button. This is Admiral Choi to all Earth defense stations. Prepare to fire on my command. Load tungsten penetrator rounds. In space, 20 defense platforms waited silently. Their rail guns, restored to full power, were aimed at the approaching enemy fleet. Each platform held enough ammunition to fire 300 rounds at near-light speed. Enemy ships entering maximum range, Du Yun reported. They're charging their energy drain weapons. The Admiral straightened his uniform. Send them our message one last time. Myray Kang transmitted the warning. Attention Void Collective vessels. This is Earth Defense Command. Withdraw immediately or face destruction. The enemy ships continued forward. Their only response was to power up their weapons. They're not even bothering to raise additional shields, Sang-Min Cho observed from his analysis station. They think our weapons will be as useless as the Confederation's. Admiral Choi allowed himself a small smile. Let's show them how wrong they are. All platforms. Fire. The rail guns fired in perfect sequence. Each shot accelerated a tungsten rod to near-light speed, focusing enormous kinetic energy into a tiny point. The rods crossed the space between the platforms and the enemy ships in seconds. The results were immediate and devastating. The Void Collective's perfect energy-absorbing shields did nothing to stop solid metal moving at relativistic speeds. The first volley tore through 3 enemy ships, splitting them apart in silent explosions. Direct hits. Du Yun shouted. Enemy ships taking massive damage. The Void Collective ships tried to regroup, clearly shocked by the attack. They had never faced weapons like this before. Their shields could absorb any amount of energy, but they couldn't stop physical objects moving at such high speeds. Second volley, fire, Admiral Choi ordered. More rail gunshots streaked across space. The enemy ships tried to evade, but Earth's targeting computers, enhanced with Confederation technology, predicted their movements perfectly. 4 more ships were destroyed. They're breaking formation, Hae-Yun reported. Their shields are failing against the kinetic impacts. They've never designed their ships to handle this kind of attack. The remaining Void Collective ships began to retreat, but Admiral Choi wasn't finished. All platforms, maintain fire. Don't let them escape to warn their fleet. The rail guns fired again and again, their ancient but effective technology proving that sometimes the old ways were the best ways. Within 20 minutes, the entire enemy force had been destroyed. In the silence that followed, Ambassador Krell stared at the tactical display in amazement. "Impossible," he whispered. "You destroyed them completely. Our best fleets couldn't even damage their shields." Admiral Choi turned to the ambassador. "This is why humanity never fully trusted energy weapons. This is why we kept our primitive technology. Sometimes the simplest solution is the best one." "Sir," Mireille interrupted, "we're receiving transmissions from other Confederation worlds. They're asking if we can teach them how to build rail guns." Hae-Yun Kim walked through the New Earth Confederation Joint Military Academy, her footsteps echoing in the large workshop. Around her, engineers from 100 different worlds worked on building their first rail guns. The sound of construction filled the air as humanity shared its weapons technology with their alien allies. "The secret is in the power delivery system," she explained to a group of Confederation engineers. They watched carefully as she showed them the inner workings of a railgun. "You need to release all the energy in a perfect sequence. Too slow, and the projectile won't reach maximum speed. Too fast, and the rails will melt." Ambassador Krell stood nearby, watching the training with newfound respect. "We were wrong about your weapons," he admitted to Hae-Yun. "We thought keeping old technology meant you were afraid of progress. Now we understand you were being wise." In another part of the academy, Sang Min-cho worked with alien scientists to develop new types of ammunition. They combined Earth's knowledge of kinetic weapons with Confederation material science. "These new composite rounds will work even better than our old ones," he told Captain Jaiho Park during their daily briefing. "The Confederation's advanced materials make them stronger and faster than anything we could build before." Jaiho picked up one of the new rounds, feeling its weight, and the production facilities. "Being built on 20 worlds already," Sangmin replied. "The Confederation is very good at building things quickly once they understand the technology. Soon, every member world will have its own defense production." At the Tactical Training Center, Admiral Ta-Wan Choi taught Confederation military officers about combined arms warfare. The large screen behind him showed different types of weapons working together. "The key is not choosing between energy weapons or kinetic weapons," he explained. "The key is using both. Energy weapons are excellent for some situations. Kinetic weapons are better for others. Together, they make your forces stronger than either type alone." The alien officers took careful notes. They had learned an expensive lesson about relying too much on one type of weapon. Mireille Kang supervised the installation of new defense platforms around Confederation colony worlds. These platforms carried both energy weapons and railguns, representing the best of both civilizations' military technology. "Your worlds will be safer now," she told a group of colonial leaders. "The Void Collective's perfect shields won't help them anymore. They'll have to face weapons their defenses can't stop." In his laboratory, Du Yunli worked with a team of human and alien scientists. They studied the debris from the destroyed Void Collective ships, learning everything they could about the enemy's technology. "Their energy absorption technology is amazing," he told Hae-Yun when she visited his lab. We might be able to adapt it to make our own ships stronger, but we'll never rely on it completely. That was their mistake. Back in her workshop, Hei-yun looked at the plans for the next generation of defense systems. They showed beautiful combinations of human and Confederation technology. Rail guns powered by alien energy systems, smart ammunition guided by advanced sensors, and hybrid weapons that no one had imagined before. "We're creating something new here," she said to Jaho as they reviewed the designs. "Not just weapons, but a new way of thinking about defense. The Confederation learned from our caution, and we're learning from their advanced science." Jaho nodded, studying the plans. "And the Void Collective?" "Still out there," Hei-yun said. "But when they return, they'll face an alliance that's ready for them. An alliance that understands the value of keeping old wisdom while embracing new ideas." 6 months after Earth's first victory against the Void Collective, Captain Jaho Park stood on the bridge of the newest Earth Confederation warship, the Unity. The ship carried both energy weapons and rail guns, representing the perfect blend of both civilizations' technology. They had received word that the Void Collective had returned, this time with their main fleet. Multiple jump signatures detected. Du Yunli reported from his station. "They're coming in exactly where we predicted." The Unity wasn't alone. Around them, 500 ships from Earth and the Confederation waited in formation. Every ship now carried both types of weapons, their crews trained in the art of combined warfare. "Enemy fleet emerging from jump points," Hei-yun Kim announced. Her new tactical display showed the Void Collective ships appearing. "Count is 1,000 ships, much larger than their first attack." Jaho watched calmly as the dark ships took formation. "Send the message." Mirai Kang transmitted their warning. "Attention Void Collective forces. Your energy absorption technology no longer guarantees your victory. Withdraw now or face destruction." The enemy's response came quickly. Their ships moved forward, still confident in their superior numbers. "They think they can overwhelm us," Admiral Tadawon Choi said from his command ship. "They don't understand what they're facing. All ships, execute Battle Plan Alpha." The combined fleet split into 3 groups, just as they had practiced. The Confederation ships moved forward first, their energy weapons blazing. The Void Collective ships absorbed the attacks, their shields growing stronger with each hit. "Enemy shields at maximum absorption," Sang Min-cho reported. "They're following their standard pattern." "Now," Jaho ordered. From behind the Confederation ships, Earth's vessels launched their attack. Rail guns fired in coordinated volleys, sending thousands of advanced composite rounds at the enemy fleet. The Void Collective ships, their shields optimized to absorb energy, had no defense against the physical impacts. "Direct hits across their front line," Hei-yun reported. "Their formation is breaking." The battle that followed proved everything humanity had taught the Confederation about warfare. When the enemy adapted to the rail gun attacks by spreading out, energy weapons forced them back together. When they tried to close distance to use their drain weapons, waves of kinetic rounds kept them at bay. "This is why we kept our old weapons," Jaho explained to Ambassador Krell, who watched from the Unity's bridge. "Not because we feared progress, but because we understood that having more options makes you stronger." The Void Collective fleet tried to retreat, but it was too late. The combined fleet had trapped them in a perfect crossfire of energy and kinetic weapons. Within 2 hours, the battle was over. The enemy force that had terrorized the Confederation for months was destroyed. In the days that followed, representatives from all Confederation worlds met on Earth. They gathered in the same room where Hei-yun had first tried to warn them about relying too much on energy weapons. "Today marks a new chapter in our history," Admiral Choi told the assembly. "We've learned that true strength comes not from having the most advanced technology, but from understanding when to use each tool at our disposal." Ambassador Krell stood to address the gathering. "Humanity's wisdom in maintaining their outdated weapons saved us all. They reminded us of something we had forgotten, that progress doesn't always mean abandoning the old ways. Sometimes it means finding the perfect balance between old and new. On the Unity's observation deck, Jai-Ho and Hei-Yun looked out at Earth below them. The planet was now a center of military education for the entire Confederation, teaching the importance of diverse defense strategies. "Do you think they'll remember this lesson?" Hei-Yun asked. Jai-Ho smiled. "I think they'll have to. After all, somewhere out there, the Void Collective is probably learning it too. Next time they return, they'll face an alliance that's ready for anything."